Today, we're going to do a little bit of medical detective work. We're zooming in on one of the most important bones in the entire human body, the femur. And believe it or not, we're going to unlock some of the incredible secrets it holds about our life and health, all just by looking at a simple X-ray.
So you have to ask, what can a single bone really tell us? I mean, you might think of it as just a part of your skeleton, right? But it's so much more than that. It's like a living document, a blueprint that's been written over the entire course of a person's life.
Because to a trained eye, that blueprint, it tells a whole life story. A radiograph of the femur isn't just some static picture. Nope, it can reveal a person's development, their past injuries, and even potential issues they were born with. All the clues are right there, just waiting for someone to find them.
All right, let's start our investigation with the femur's telltale lines. We're going to see how doctors use simple, imaginary lines they just draw over an X-ray, to diagnose some really complex and serious problems. Okay, our first clue is something called Klein's line. Now, it's just an imaginary line that a radiologist draws right along the top edge of the femoral neck. That's the part of the bone that connects the main shaft to the ball-like head. It sounds simple, I know, but where that line goes is incredibly revealing.
So here's how it works. In a totally healthy hip, Klein's line should pass right through a part of the femoral head. But if it doesn't, if it misses, that is a major red flag for a condition called SCFE, which is where the top of the femur basically slips out of place. It's a really serious issue that can cause a ton of pain and mobility problems, especially for teenagers.
Let's move on to our next clue, Shenton's line. This one is all about one thing, continuity. See, it's supposed to be this smooth, continuous arc that follows the bottom of the femoral neck and then curves perfectly into the upper edge of that big opening in the pelvis, the obturator foramen.
And you can see it right here. On the left, you've got this perfect, unbroken arc in a healthy hip, but on the right, that arc is all broken up. A disruption in Shenton's line is a huge indicator of a potential hip dislocation. This is a super serious condition, and it's especially important to catch it in infants to prevent them from developing walking issues that could last a lifetime.
And it's not just about lines. Angles are absolutely critical too. The angle between the femur's neck and its main shaft tells another big part of the story. If the angle is less than 120 degrees, it's called Coxa Vara. If it's greater than 135, it's known as Coxa Valgus, and both of these conditions can really affect a person's gait and their overall joint health.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little. We've been reading the clues on a finished bone, but how is that blueprint written in the first place? Well, now we're going to look at the femur's incredible growth story, all the way from before birth to adulthood.
Check out this fascinating fact. Our bones form on a really strict schedule. The appearance of brand new bone growth way down in the lower femur is such a reliable indicator that it actually tells us a fetus has reached full term. It's kind of like a natural due date calculator, written right into our skeleton. Wild, right?
So let's follow the femur's entire journey. It actually starts way back in the 7th week of fetal life. Then at birth, a new growth center appears. Over the next 2 decades, more and more of these centers pop up, building out the bone's really complex shape. And finally, somewhere between 18 and 20 years old, all these separate pieces fuse together, creating the single, strong femur of an adult.
Now that the femur is fully formed, let's talk about its biggest vulnerability in adulthood. We're going to focus on its fragile lifeline and see why a very common type of fracture can have such absolutely devastating consequences.
You know, the problem lies right here. The head of the femur, that's the ball that fits into your hip socket, it gets nearly all of its blood supply through its neck. Think of it like a single, critical highway delivering all the oxygen and nutrients it needs to survive. So what happens if that highway gets closed? Well, a fracture right below the head can completely cut off that blood supply. And when that happens, the risk of the femoral head actually dying is an astonishing 80%. This is called ischemic necrosis, and it is every bit as serious as it sounds. It's really just a tragic chain of events. A fracture disrupts the blood vessels, the blood supply gets cut off, and then the bone tissue just begins to die. It's a direct and very severe consequence of the femur's unique anatomy. So, let's pull all these threads together. As we've seen, our bones reveal so much more than just the basic structure that holds us all up. They are, in a way, a diary of our development and a roadmap for diagnosing some really critical health issues. So let's quickly review the clues we've uncovered in our detective toolkit.
We've learned that Klein's line is your go-to for spotting epiphyseal slips. Shenton's line helps reveal congenital dislocations. The ossification timeline tells a detailed story of age and development. And of course, the femoral neck's blood supply is a fragile, critical lifeline to the head.
And that brings us to a final thought. You know, we've only decoded one single bone today. But if our bones can hold such a detailed blueprint of our lives, it really makes you wonder, what other incredible stories are hidden within the rest of our body just waiting to be read?